when the coup fails in Barcelona, rather than heading home that night to bed, the anarchists in the city started to spontaneously, what they call commandeer motor cars around the city and use these vehicles to raid or to storm the military barracks which existed in Barcelona. So from that seizing what's estimated to be 50,000 weapons, you find this shift of placement of power where you have a wave of celebration by the workers, mainly anarchists in the city, for their role in helping defend Barcelona. And secondly, they've now got 50,000 weapons in their arms. Some of these people couldn't afford to put shoes on their feet. They're now armed to the teeth. So there's a very obvious shift in presence or power of the CNT in Barcelona. And the next 5 days after the coup failed in Barcelona, what has been called or referred to as a revolutionary fiesta begins in the city. There's celebration, almost like a manic kind of celebration. A revolutionary fiesta begins for 5 days. But after that 5 days of the revolutionary fiesta, the local government in Barcelona, the Catalan government, the Generalitat, who at the time had only about 1,000 police at its disposal who were armed and ready, they obviously feel that tip of power or placement into the anarchists' hands. And with such little police really to effect to stop this revolutionary fiesta and in a certain sense bring the city back to normality as the war is breaking out elsewhere, they eventually convinced some of the anarchist members to come in for talks and plead with them not to lead the revolution. They've been toying with this idea of seizing the means of production, collectivizing the industry, leading a revolution, of course, being anarchists. But the government's argument that was essentially that the war was the priority and the guns should be used to arm militias at the front line. So amongst the CNT, the decision was made 5 days after this revolutionary fiesta to use the guns for those that wanted to join the anarchist militias and be the volunteers at the nearest front line to Barcelona. The guns would be used for that purpose, and those that wanted to would go back to work the next day in the industry in Barcelona. However, it's almost like this tipping point takes place for part of the population, the working class population, that have been toying with the idea of collectivization and organization on a horizontal level for so many decades. When they go back to work after 5 days of celebration, back to work with the knowledge, of course, they've got 50,000 weapons behind them. In many cases, the bosses have left, they've gone into hiding, or in the case that about 70,000 Catalan members of the elite pack up their bags and start this mass exodus. They go to Italy, some go to France, some essentially take this opportunity to go into hiding or go on extended holidays, waiting for the situation in Barcelona with the anarchists armed to the teeth to blow over. So this opportunity, in a way, it presents itself that when the anarchist workers, or the workers in Barcelona, start to go back to work after 5 days of this revolutionary fiesta, they see the opportunity and they grasp it to reorganize the factories under workers' control, horizontal line management, and they succeed within 2 weeks in collectivizing what's estimated to be between 70 and 80% of industry and commerce in Barcelona. Now, it's not just in the city of Barcelona itself, the contingency or the support of the CNT, it's strongest essentially in Catalonia, although it existed elsewhere in the country, but it starts to happen on almost like a domino effect in other towns and other small cities across Catalonia. Within 2 weeks in Barcelona, the gasworks, the electricity, the water, the transport, everything's up and working perfectly. But behind the scenes, of course, it's never been so different because this pecking order or this hierarchical order now has been replaced by an incredibly well-organized system of horizontality, where the workers now are rethinking the average day of work, how many hours to be worked, the payment of the workers, the facilities in the factories themselves, setting up childcare facilities, shower facilities, libraries. Again, to stress the point that they've been toying with the idea of revolution for decades at this stage. They've just grasped the opportunity now, and needless to say, the workers were the cogs. They were the machinery that made the factory work. And the difference is now that the hierarchy is gone and they're recreating this on a horizontal level. To such an extent that unemployment disappears in Barcelona after a month of the revolution beginning. The anarchists that would leave Barcelona volunteering to become the militias from the city to set up the nearest front line, which was about 300 kilometers away, to take back the city of Zaragoza. The revolution, although they leave the revolution in the industry behind in Barcelona, as they continued through the countryside in Catalonia and the countryside in Aragon, where Zaragoza is the capital of, they continue the revolution through the countryside, helping peasants collectivize land, machinery along the way. And even you could say that the extent of the revolution actually, it reaches the front line itself, because that nearest front line to Barcelona, because the majority of the volunteers there fighting against or resisting against Franco and his fascist support as revolutionaries, They continue on the front line with this organisation, which is kind of the antithesis, you could say, of rank and file military organisation. With the anarchist militias, it's organised that no saluting is done, everyone's on equal pay, there was no forced discipline amongst the militias, every decision in the trenches was voted on. The horizontality that you would find applied to the factories in Barcelona or across Catalonia, in the countryside with the peasants and collectivisation of land and machinery, was also applied to a certain extent at the front line nearest to Barcelona.